Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, witches, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike and my co-host.
James Thomas. After last episode, I was feeling a little colonial, so I'm decided
Yeah,
my
makes sense,
full-on
yes.
name. You get everything, minus my last name because you'd kick me out of the community at that point.
Maybe, who
He's
knows?
he's a what?
The what? It must be a witch.
He's a witch.
Oh, man. Well, welcome back.
I wouldn't have survived.
Oh, God, no. I'm way too outspoken. I'd be
I,
dead so fast.
I would have had so much fun just messing with people. You're going to die tomorrow. I'm gonna go
Yes.
grab my arsenic.
Yes, that's much better than the way they're going to kill you.
It's a true story.
All right. Well, I titled mine Witch Hunts, but not that one.
I
All
love that we
right.
went the different direction from where everybody normally goes.
Yeah, exactly. And because I was in Anaheim recently, I ended up basically accidentally getting a great pairing for this episode. So this
Yeah.
is from Monkish Brewing, which is one of the best fucking breweries out there. And this
Yep.
is Forbidden Energy.
Because when one thinks of witches, they think Anaheim.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh boy, you're a witch. Let's hang you. Well, golly. All I did was burn some sage.
Exactly. But yeah, this is a triple IPA. It's 10.1% alcohol.
Wow.
And it is,
Oh,
it looks gorgeous. It is like
it's
super, super thick, like that. It looks like orange juice, basically.
it's literally orange juice and also like a liquid gold medal.
Yes. And it smells really, like really heavily of hops, like almost cannabis. You're basically just getting all the notes from the hops. I'm not really smelling fruit or anything. It's just kind of that dank kind of hop thing going on. But on the mouth, it's like pineapple juice, like just like tropical fruit juice with a little bit of hop burn in there, not much bitterness at all. It is
Sounds
super tasty, and you don't taste the 10.1% alcohol at all.
sounds good. It sounds like I want to buy some, so I'm probably gonna.
Yes, if you can find Monkish somehow, you should.
They will ship it to me.
Oh, will they?
They sure will.
Oh God, yeah, they make some fucking phenomenal beer.
Except I don't see the one that you have on here as an option.
Uh, who
Oh,
knows? It could have been like a like end of the beer kind of thing when I was there a
there's
couple weeks ago.
there's a beer called Feminist, which is a Belgian triple with hibiscus.
Yes, I tried it. It was good.
The whole
Would have
like
been a good one.
$20 for a 4-pack thing is rough, but
Yeah, well, hey, pretty
pay for the
typical
good stuff.
prices, unfortunately. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into it here. When you think about witch hunts, you probably think about the Salem, Massachusetts witch hunts,
Mhm.
where they hung quite a few women, or maybe Europe, where they burn women at the stake.
I mean, gotta get your hot dogs cooked somewhere.
Oh my. Witch hunts have happened all over the world for as long back as we can remember. One thing that always seems to be the part of the story, though, is that women were fighting for more rights or just standing up for themselves and would become victims of witch trials.
I mean, totally acceptable.
Yes. She's uppity. Burn her! That's basically what it was, right?
She winked with her left eye. Drawn and quartered. Off the left.
I love the fact that my next line is a woman looked at her neighbor wrong. Witch! Your farm animals died and you saw your neighbor yesterday. Witch!
That's that's what people don't understand is that a lot of this was like, I just don't like this person. So this is how I can take care of this. I have some people. I have a list. I mean, if I could just scream witch and they wouldn't bother me anymore,
Yeah.
I surely would.
So, like you said last time, men were also executed as witches, but it was a lot more rare in most places.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays you'd call them warlocks too, usually. So burn the
Yeah.
warlock.
Yeah, they went and had to be different. I don't understand. I'm fine being called a witch.
100%. So to say Canada had a big history of witch trials would be an overstatement, but there have been some witch trials here. So let's start with northern British Columbia and the Yukon Territory,
Ah, the
which is just
Yukon.
above BC.
Yes.
In the north of Western Canada, Indigenous groups were still pretty removed from day-to-day settler life before the 1940s. And
Hmm.
yes, 1940s. Things would begin to change with the beginning of World War II. The American government wanted to have Alaska connected to the rest of the United States through Canada.
Yeah.
As such, the Alaska Highway would be born between Alaska, Yukon Territory, and British Columbia. The push was on, and 2,700 kilometers or 1,700-mile long highway would be finished in 1942.
Okay.
One caveat: the highway would not be open to the public until years later, 1948. It was more of a military highway at first.
Okay. I I was wondering, I was going to ask you if you had some Motrin for the whiplash I got when you moved us forward so fast.
Right?
We went from 17th, 18th century to the 20th.
Yes. So this influx of tradespeople, military men, and just mostly, white Canadians, white Christian Canadians, would change the life for Indigenous groups immensely.
Yeah.
An American anthropologist, John Honigman, would travel up the Alaska Highway in 1947 to study the Indigenous groups, as they were some of the last autonomous Indigenous groups left in North America, and he wanted to learn about them before what happened.
Yeah. Is his last name spelled Hoe?
No, Honigmann.
On again.
Honigman?
It's very, yeah, that's very German. It's German to me, but maybe not.
Well, he was an
Could be
American
Irish.
guy.
I don't know. It
Could
was an
be
American
anything.
dude.
Yeah, I
He
don't
was
know.
actually trying to study somebody before things happened.
Yes. So John was 30 years old, and he would be one of the first civilians taken on the U.S. Army bus along the highway. He would spend a full 2 years embedded with the Pasca First Nations and an inland Athabascan people. He was quoted as saying, "North of the Peace River, the Indian still lives largely as did his forefathers." So likely for his time, he was a pretty cool guy, as he said that these indigenous groups should be left to run their own affairs, all while calling the people primitive. So, like he still got his bullshit, but he's still like, leave them alone.
He had what's interesting too, like language wise, product of time, but also
100%.
his thought process not. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I like you. I
Yeah.
like,
I
let's just
mean,
have a conversation about cultural sensitivity.
exactly. But this is still 1947. So that's pretty progressive for 1947.
It's pretty progressive for 2024.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't say that lightly either. Like, that's
Yeah.
not even a joke. It is. Um,
Yeah. He would also speak out against the Canadian residential school system, a system that stole children from their parents and moved them hundreds of kilometers away to take the Indian out of the child, said by Canada's first Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald.
and well, he can suck a brick.
Yeah. Notice how I didn't say sir like a lot of people say?
Yeah,
Fuck
no.
him.
He doesn't get a sir. He doesn't even get a Riz. He just gets
No.
a
So, like I said, life had taken a terrible turn for the indigenous people of this area. Things would start to go bad with an outbreak of witch trials.
Mm. This story is about to be ranked three natty
Yes.
lights out of five.
So bad.
Pretty, really, it's crap no matter how you cut it. So
Any natty lights, yeah.
it's a crap scale, is what it is.
So the first story we have of a witch trial came out during an interview that John did with an indigenous man who decided to stay anonymous. In 1944, the man spoke about an incident when he was 8 years old and his younger brother died as an infant. A local woman noted in sources as Mrs. Peel accused the small boy of witchcraft in the death of his brother, and the area fell for it hook, line, and sinker.
What?
The young boy would be tortured and interrogated all day by the community and his own family members. Luckily for the boy, he escaped last minute, and that saved his life.
God, that's terrible. Jeez,
Yeah.
you jumped us into the deep end, friend. Like the kid,
Yep.
the brother should have just been like, no, it's not witchcraft. I just killed him. What is the bro? He probably
And he
would have been
didn't.
fine.
He just died of natural causes.
Yeah.
So, quote, they got the whole crowd looking for me, but they never found me, he said, describing breathless moments of searchers coming within breathing distance of his hiding place. The informant still bears the scars of his torture, wrote his interviewer. One of those scars was that he was missing a bloody ear.
So okay.
They cut his ear off.
Jesus.
8 years old.
You didn't need it anyways. That's just,
Right?
like, okay, so this was within that community that this
Yes.
happened. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I just I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think witch trials and I think white people problems.
Right?
But I mean, I guess if there's some unknown thing that happens or something that's really hated, then you're gonna have to find something
Yeah.
to
Well,
blame it
it
on.
sounded like a lot of this came out of white people culture, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This wasn't really something that was happening here before the introduction of
I don't know what you're
more
talking
white
about, Mike.
people. Yep.
I'm blameless, said unknowingly.
Yeah. So this was not an isolated incident either, sadly. Families would speak of cousins fleeing their communities after being accused of witchcraft.
Mm.
Typical story would be a young child died of natural causes, but their young family member of no specific gender would be accused of witchcraft. This would always be followed with serious abuse. Many would be bound and left on the beach of Dees Lake to die of exposure or animals.
These lake, these nuts.
Yeah, right.
I'd
And I mean,
like,
that's almost worse, right? Like, if you kill them, like hanging, like drowning, at least it's fairly quick. Even burning, it sucks. It's horrible, it sounds like, but it's pretty quick. To be tied up and left to die of exposure
that's
or
that's
just to like be eaten by animals, it's fucking nuts.
oh Jesus.
So sadly, Indigenous groups tried to get help from the Canadian government and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in the early 1920s, but either they didn't believe them or they just didn't give a shit. Because
Gonna go with the second one.
I know, right? Or maybe both.
Yeah.
Because this would have been before the Alaska Highway, and the RCP would send 3 officers from Vancouver. Finally,
Right.
they would take a steamship to Alaska, then a barge up the river to Telegraph Creek. This would then have them canoe for weeks and hike until they reach what is now known as Lower Post.
Oh, you know, hop,
Be
skip, and a
led,
jump.
right? The officers would then be led to the shore of a local lake and would find the badly decomposed body of a child. This time, 5 people from the community would be arrested and charged, but that was the one time. Quote, the Mounties charged 5 locals with the boy's murder, chief among them a woman named Eddie Lutz. A subsequent trial held in Prince Rupert would include the Crown's claim that, quote, the maiming of the human beings, including children, has been commonly practiced amongst the Indian and the northern portion of the province, quote. So, since we went back in time a bit, there is another source of the witchcraft in northern British Columbia. This was caused from Caucasian fur trappers and Christian missionaries in 1898 as part of the Klondike Gold Rush. This caused a massive influx in disease and death, just like you mentioned, right?
Right.
You introduce all these people that haven't been around all these fun diseases, and it goes badly.
Oh, every time.
Yeah. So by the 1940s, it was noted that almost half of the Indigenous population in that part of the northern British Columbia had died of newly introduced disease. So this kind of die-off can cause any group to distrust their neighbors.
Yep.
Quote, they rather consistently maintained that it was white people who constantly spoke of witches he wrote. Surviving members of the family of Eddie Lute refused his request for an interview. So, no surprise, right?
Not at all.
So let's move on to another witch hunt in Canada, and this one is far more recent. Luckily, this witch hunt has no body count, and it was a mixture of old school, stupid laws and police throwing charges at the wall to see what stuck.
As one
Because
does.
they never do that, right? They never throw
Never.
15 charges for one crime that probably
In
wasn't
fact,
even a
like the
crime.
entire precinct was like, we don't need a witch to do that.
Yeah, right? So up until March 2019, Canada had,
Jesus.
Canada had a law on the books that made it illegal to pretend to practice witchcraft, a law that had likely been on the books since 1892.
Listen, I at least picked a time period in which we were not around. You picked a time in which even my son was around. And what?
What this law was really about was stopping fraud, but it was so antiquated that it targeted women and religious minorities. Of course,
Oh,
right?
yeah, why not?
It's a quote. The provision that differentiates this type of fraud from others is mired in historic oppression of women and religious minorities and is not necessary to prosecute fraud. So, like, no
It's
shit.
it's almost like laws were written with the knowledge that they should eventually be updated.
Mhm.
Hmm. Huh.
And,
Imagine
more
that.
than once every 100 plus years.
Or however old my country is. Yes.
Yes.
I can't
So,
math.
yeah, exactly, right? In practice, the police would use this law to charge people that did psychic readings and use these readings to try and defraud people of their hard earned cash.
If they're going to show money out for a psychic reading, they deserve to lose their money. That's my psychic reading. You're going to lose some money in the next 10 minutes. $50, please.
Yep. So things like saying that a person's house was cursed and they had to donate a bunch of money to the psychic to get rid of the haunting. Or push that person to sell their haunted house and send the profits to the psychic.
I would like to quote the great man and also conflicting man Walt Disney when I say, "Tale as old as time."
Right? These charges would have easily been just fraud, but the police like to have their options open to throw shit at the wall to see what sticks. This law had some teeth also, as the fine was set at up to $2,000 with up to 6 months in prison.
Wow.
So from 2009 to 2019, 4 women were charged with this crime. And there was also at least one guy. And if I remember
Like,
right, I think they were all in this province of Ontario, I think.
I would love to say we now have science, but we've also recently had people sunning their taints to get rid of COVID. So I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
You said this law was changed when?
2019.
Okay, so right before COVID. That's good because there were going to be a lot of witches up there then.
You mentioned the sunning the taint. How much do you want to bet that, like, in a decade here, there's going to be so many taint skin cancer problems?
You know what? Skin cancer is not funny, but if you're sunning your taint to avoid COVID, I'm gonna laugh at you.
Yeah.
Um,
This is an area that has
because
literally never seen sun in its life.
what would really be funny is that they have to do a skin graft from like a calf to a taint, because usually it would be taint to something else, but no, that's not actually how surgery works.
No.
Don't listen to me, kids.
So 2009 would see Vishwanti Persad charged with witchcraft. Now, I could not find much mention of witchcraft in her crimes, really. She was a huge fraudster who was on house arrest when she perpetrated enough fraud to get charged again, this time with witchcraft act on.
You know what? Not even mad. Kind of impressed at the gall. Well done.
She She pretended to be a lawyer for a time and represented people for immigration cases without a license to practice.
But did she win and was she cheap? Those are my questions.
The immigration case only ran up $2,000, but it got worse. But yes, no, it didn't work.
Oh, well, she sucks then.
She was able to defraud Sony as she charged them $850,000 for $250,000 of marketing work.
Holy shit. You know what? I like this
Right?
woman.
So this a guy Noel DeLay was defrauded of $18,000 for fake cancer treatments from Vishwanti. Like she's all over the fucking map.
Yeah, yeah. For a second there, I was like, if that's witchcraft, cover me in sage, but now I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. So where Vishwanti messed up that added the extra charge was when she did a tarot reading. The tarot reading was used to use his religious beliefs to extract money. Oops.
I love how fake lawyer, fake cancer treatments, tarot reading, off with thine head.
Yes. But yes, she was able to use that to extract more money, a bribe kind of thing or whatever.
It would have been great if you sat down for the tarot card reading and she started dealing out the cards as if it was Texas Hold'em.
Yes, right? 2012 would see an unnamed man bill himself as a healer. There was a slight issue with this as he would fraudulently charge his clients tens of thousands of dollars just to remove curses. Now, whoever this dude was, he ended up paying restitution to have his charges dropped. So that's why we don't really know much about his name, but he was there.
Who who buys this shit anymore? Then again, Scientology. So I don't
Certain political parties.
know.
you know, we move on to our next fraudster that got hit with the witchcraft charges. This time we have Murali Mutyalu, a man that could supposedly remove curses in 2017. Murali was visiting Toronto from India when he would claim he could remove evil spirits for Safet Mello. A slight problem is that he charged $101,000 to remove the evil spirit.
That spirit better have been the spawn of Satan for that much
Right?
money. You know, not like a ghost named Earl. Like,
Yes.
all right.
The court would end up charging him while dropping the witchcraft with a total payment required of $67,000. So it sounds like Morale still made off as a bandit here because he was charging 101,000 to remove the evil spirit.
Right. He ended up with like 41.
Yeah, right.
Oh, again, don't math. I just podcast.
So the last fake witchcraft charge would be laid on December 11th, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
This time it was a supposed psychic Tiffany Butch. She would be known as Psychic Nina.
Psychic Nina.
Yeah. She charged the family $750 to remove a family hex. She would end up having the charges withdrawn when she agreed to pay $750 to Lord's Kitchen. Why the fuck do you not just get them to pay restitution to the people they wronged?
Because that would allow those people to actually receive what they deserve.
That's true. So I have to assume this is a religious charity because Lord's Kitchen. But I don't understand. Like, why do you give it to a charity? Just give the fucking money back to the people that lost the money.
Right. Well, maybe Canada is very much like if they were dumb enough to lose this money, they don't deserve this money. They're just gonna do some other dumb stuff like run for Congress. So or Parliament.
Yeah. So this is a quote from person's lawyer. Quote, "There is no guilt implied, insinuated, or accepted on her part," said Sharon Saborin, the defense lawyer who represented the accused. That's just what was offered as a resolution. She decided to take that rather than going to trial, which was going to cost significantly more.
Yep.
Which she, but also bullshit. Guilty. So it would only be 2 days later that that section of the criminal code in Canada would be repealed. But
But still,
yikes, huh?
all the yikes.
So that is my Canadian witch trials. There was another one in Quebec that I tried to cover, but I was just getting too confused. There was so many really hard to say names, and I was just like, I can't do this.
I don't blame you. You had a lot
Yes.
of difficult names to begin with.
Yes, exactly. The damn witches currently are all really hard names to say, it turns out.
Well, if they stopped charging people who are obviously, from other places, and maybe they would charge like a Karen
Yeah,
or a
right.
Bertha or a,
I just I think it's so wild that in the 2000s and the 2010s they're tacking on witchcraft as a fucking charge. That's nuts.
horse paste. Hor-
Yes.
Horse paste and injecting bleach in the Tide Pod challenge. Need I say more?
May- Maybe there needs to be some witch trials down in the States right now.
They would have you believe that they are witch trials. They
No,
are
but
not.
the ones yelling witch trials are the ones that should be charged as witches.
Yep. Yep. That's okay. Some of them were just indicted in Arizona, so it's fine.
That's good. That's good. Yes. I think George is trying to do that kind of stuff too.
What's really funny is that Giuliani, if you throw water on him, he looks like he's melting. So
I think he is melting.
he's constantly in a state of melt.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to Brew Crime. You can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group at Brew Crime the Group. If you'd like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrime now. Money goes towards upgrading the equipment and making the show that much better. You get one bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes. So shout out to our Patreon supporters. True Crime Nana, 3 Beers In, and the faves of our lives.
I put a
All right.
spell on you, and
And
now you're
now you're
mine.
mine. Woohoo! We're gonna quit podcasting and become singers.
Mm, one's more lucrative, and I'm not quite sure
Uh,
which.
Neither, because they're both in the arts.
The bar is low.
Exactly. All cases in Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.
I'm Pitney.
And I'm Amelia.
And we're from...
Pitney and Amelia's Bitchin' Boutique. Who are we?
Why, we're your new best friends, of course.
Pull up a seat and listen in to what we think about people, places, and things.
Geeky stuff, horror movies, weirdos we know, spirituality, sexuality, food, filth.
It's like eavesdropping on the people at the next table for like an hour or so, and wishing you could join in on their conversation.
Also, do you see who just came in? Look at that hair.
Oh, honey, just... no.
Bitchiness, you're soaking in it.
We soften your hands while you do the dishes.
Pitney and Amelia's Bitchin' Boutique.
We're here.
We're queer. And
We're
we're
in your ear. Every other Friday, where all the classiest podcasts are found.
So take that.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. 1,500 miles.
It reminds me. No, it's nothing like the time where my uncle put peanut butter on his head and put bird seed there and let the birds from the beach. Yeah, no, nothing like that. I don't know why I even Here we are.
No. Even oh, but 1920s. It's a quote. What was that?
No, nothing. You
How
said this
much
law was-
longer? Oh, go ahead.
No,
I don't understand that one sentence. I'm just gonna skip it.
over Raggy.
So 2020 or 2012, sorry. Excuse me. This beer is making me very burpy.
Nope, you can cut that out right now. Cut that right out.